Hey guys, this is Black Bolt. Hope everyone is doing well. It is 34 degrees outside, and as you can see, with the car charged up all the way, I have an estimated 138 miles of range remaining. And that is because I am using Hilltop Reserve, which maxes my capacity at 88%. And that is because I have not yet done the product safety recall. And what that recall does is it would cap the battery capacity at 90%. So not much of a big change there. And then looking at my energy consumption, you can see I'm under 3 miles per kilowatt hour. I'm gonna go ahead and reset this now. In today's video, we're going to talk all about efficiency, winter efficiency specifically in Minnesota. The temperature is going to be under 40 degrees all day long. And you can see if I turn off heat and AC, then the car estimates 143 miles. So we're gonna hit the road and see how it goes. Some of the things that General Motors recommends to keep the car as efficient as possible is to stay at 50 miles an hour or below. That's only possible, of course, if you keep off of the highways. I don't think I am going to do that. Another thing that they recommend is keeping the temperature set at 72 degrees or below. I have it at 72 right now, and I have it set to automatic, which they recommend, and turn off the rear defroster and any other electronics. And then they recommend using the heated seats, which I have turned on, and then the heated steering wheel, which I also have turned on. And those work pretty well. So long as the temperature is around 40, wearing a hat and gloves, it's actually pretty comfortable in here with heated seats without the heat turned on. But I'm going to go for a normal person drive. So this is how I would use the car normally if I wasn't trying to maximize the range. And as you can see, I'm already down to 135 miles, and it adjusts itself as we go. And over here on the screen, every 5 miles or so, it will show what the efficiency number is at. And I did some preconditioning of the car. First mile is basically wasted in a sense. You can see that so far 1/3 of the battery has gone to climate settings. Energy used is approaching 1 kilowatt hour, 1.4 miles traveled. And as we get further along, it's going to update itself, and eventually I expect to land at around 3 miles per kilowatt hour. And a quick question for current electric cars owners, please comment below, how low have you gotten your range to go? As you can see in the screen, I have gotten as low as 0% range, and I did not have any range anxiety because I've driven my car 57,000 miles now, and I know that this range meter is accurate, so I don't have any fears of range. When I'm driving, if the car says I have 20 miles of range to go and I am 18 miles away from home, I am perfectly comfortable driving all the way home, even though at around 15 miles it actually turns off this meter. So let me know your thoughts on range anxiety, if that's a thing for you or no. We are now approaching 5 miles driven. We're at 2 kilowatt hours used and 4.9 miles traveled. We are averaging 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and it's going to get more efficient as we keep on rolling down the street, because the first kilowatt basically was used while the car was standing still. And now if I go over, there we go, there's our first bar. Yeah, that's at probably 2.6, 2.7. So every 5 miles or so it will update, and the red line is the average over the last 50 miles or so. The stretch of highway that I'm on is a 60-mile-an-hour road, so that's how fast I'm going at the moment. And generally speaking, I stick to the speed limit. I'm never in a hurry. My thought on that is, if you need to rush to get somewhere, just leave home a little bit earlier so you'll be on time. And then another trick for efficiency is this kilowatt hour bar right there. If you keep your car at 45 kilowatts and below, you're going to have maximum efficiency. And the top of that yellow bar is 45. Generally, I try and keep it at below 50, but I'm driving. I'm not going to accelerate super slow in traffic just to try and maximize efficiency. I'm going to drive like a sane person. And so whenever possible, keep it below 50 kilowatt hours, but if you need to, you can go ahead and step on it. All right, here we go. Keep an eye on the meter. So you can see in sport mode, that was about a quarter block, and you saw how high that got super fast. Sport mode is not inefficient, it picks up speed a lot faster, so it's going to use a lot more of your battery. But you can have it in sport mode all day long and accelerate gently, and it's not a problem whatsoever. My goal today is to use up as much of the electricity as I can. Right after work, I'm gonna go out and try and do some Uber Eats, and at the end of the day, my goal is to show you guys exactly how far you can go in a day where the temperature is right around 40 degrees and below. And right now it's actually gone up to 41 degrees. It'll be dark by 5 o'clock or so, and the temperatures will drop probably into the low 30s or high 20s. And right now it's actually not necessary for me to use the heat, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off because I'm pretty hot. So we'll keep you posted and we'll show you how it goes the rest of the way. So we just hit 5 kilowatt hours used and we're at 14.9 miles driven now. I turned off the air conditioning system, so it was going to approach 3 anyway, even with the air conditioning system on. But without it on, we're actually closer to 4 miles per kilowatt hour now instead of 3. And then I expect this red line to jump up right to the 3 miles per kilowatt hour. And we'll see that when this light turns green. There it is. And that bar is actually at 5 miles per kilowatt hour. And that's because I'm just driving on local streets right now. The maximum speed limit of the road I'm on is 45 miles an hour, and I've been doing basically 30 miles an hour behind me through downtown Anoka, excuse me. And this is the busy area of Coon Rapids, where all of the stores and whatnot, Target's right in front of us. I'm going to Five Guys right over here. All right, so I got the food, and now I am on my way back. Gonna turn onto Main Street and then Round Lake, and then we'll jump on the highway and we will see how that affects this efficiency. Well, right now it's approaching 6 miles per kilowatt hour, but once we get on the highway, it'll drop back down to around 4. But you can already see the meter is adjusting. It adjusts in real time based on how you're driving, and so it'll drop. And then by the time we're at 20 miles, I expect it to be around 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Check that out. We're approaching another 60 mile an hour road, so I'm gonna go ahead and reduce the speed. So there you can see we're at about 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour because of that lunatic acceleration that I just did. Alright guys, so we are approaching 20 miles driven and we have used 6.4 kilowatt hours, which is pretty good for winter. So 20.1 miles, 6.6 kilowatt hours. That's right at 3 miles per kilowatt hour. And our new meter is actually at around 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour average. And that's because I had to do hard acceleration. You can see that truck behind me there. I got stuck between it and a different car when it was entering the highway, so I basically mashed the accelerator pedal hard as I could and got up to well above the speed limit, let's say. We are now at 25 miles driven and 7.8 kilowatt hours used. So that is now above 3 miles per kilowatt for the overall drive, and that's including the climate settings, which used a bunch of energy with 0 miles driven. You can see that the last 5 miles driven were above 4 miles per kilowatt hour. Alright guys, so I am back home. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat back on because it's going to be colder this evening when I leave home. As you can see, there's 121 miles of range left when the heat is turned on, and the car uses a decent amount of energy it'll settle in at right around 7 kilowatts when the heat is on and you're not moving, so that's pretty significant. And then over here, let's take a look at our numbers. We drove 25.6 miles and used 7.9 kilowatt hours. That's a rating of 3.24 miles per kilowatt hour, and that's because some of it is used while stationary. And then looking at the information menu, you can see that the last 5 miles we drove was relatively efficient. Even now with me stopped at home with the battery going on, it's still at 4 and it's dropping quickly, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn the car off. But yeah, you can see this is a pretty efficient vehicle. And then one other thing that I'm going to do before I plug into my level 1 charger is I'm going to change it to 12 amps. And this is a warning that says charging an electric vehicle can stress a building's electrical system more than typical household. Over here, that's our Duocida level 2 charger. There's a link of the description, so if you are looking at buying an electric car charger, go ahead and use that link, and it won't cost you anything extra, but it'll help me out a little bit. Hey guys, Black Bolt. It is now 4:35 in the Twin Cities. I am going to be starting the evening with 117 miles of range remaining with the heat turned on and set at 72 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and take off in just a moment. You can see as of now, 88% driving and accessories, 12% climate settings, and I did precondition the car, so I'm not sure why it's showing 0 there. My plan as of right now is to drive between 80 and 100 miles. So we'll see how close I can get to using the whole battery. So the temperature inside my garage was about 46 degrees, I believe. Right now it's 36, 37 degrees outside. So this is perfect conditions for testing out what the car's efficiency is going to be. So I'm excited to find out what that number is at the end of the night. At this light, now that the heating system has reached its ideal setting, it's not blowing extra hard anymore, and it's actually resting at 2 to 3 kilowatts while we're parked and basically in an idle state. So it's not consuming a terrible amount of energy, but obviously it's still higher than it would be without the heat on. So we've driven 30 miles and energy used is 9.7 kilowatts, and that's including preconditioning. That's over 3 miles per kilowatt hour now, which is pretty good for winter and having the heat on. And then if we look at the energy meter, this screen shows us that for the actual driving that we've done, we're closer to 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Alright guys, I am in Circle Pines, Minnesota, so it was a long drive getting out here. I am now at 59.9 miles and I've used 19 kilowatt hours of energy, so we're still above 3, but I've got 92 miles of range left, and that's with the heat turned off. If I turn the heat back on, then I'm down to 88 miles of range, and it is pretty dark. And some quick trivia, Minneapolis is northwest of Toronto, Canada, so we are pretty far north. We have just hit 75 miles driven and only used 23.7 kilowatt hours. Easy math says that we are still over 3 miles per kilowatt hour. So doing pretty good. I've still got 70 miles of range left in the battery. It's just hit 100 miles for the day and used 32.2 kilowatts to get that 100 miles. So I've got 45 miles of range left and some driving yet to do, so we'll see if I can get that all the way down. Alright guys, I am back home, so that was 3 hours and 25 minutes of door-to-door driving. I am at 34 miles of range remaining, and over here you can see that the whole day I drove 113.7 miles and used 36.8 kilowatt hours of electricity. Here's the number for KTIS if you are curious about the station. It's a Christian station, so if you want to give, the number is 651-631-5000. My wife and I give on a monthly basis. Anyway, back to the video. 113.7 miles driven, 36.8 kilowatt hours of electricity is almost exactly 3 miles per kilowatt hour, which is really good because I had the heat running at 72 degrees basically the entire time that I was driving. And you can see here from the chart that we were at just over 3 miles per kilowatt hour. That's what that red line shows. So overall, I would say that the Chevy Bolt EV is a really efficient vehicle to drive. And then one other piece of math, if you add 113.7 to 33 miles, you get 146.7 miles on 88% capacity. So that's pretty good in the winter. Also, in that 3.5 hours of driving, I made $92 doing Uber Eats. And I am going to have a video on my Uber Eats strategy coming out soon. And Chevy Bolt EV and electric cars in general are really fantastic for doing rideshare because you don't have to pay for any of the gasoline that you use, especially for someone like me who does it just part-time on the side. It's really awesome. And my link to Uber is down in the comments below. So as usual, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have any video ideas for me. Take care.